Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to the A24 project here on the Nerd Party Network. Usually, me and Dallas King make our way through the A24 filmography and TV work and interview the talent involved along the way, but in this episode we're doing something a little bit different, as we welcome podcaster and musician Jonathan Foster, who works for the UK's finest independent cinema, the Prince Charles Cinema, based in London. Jonathan takes us behind the scenes of the challenges cinemas like the Prince Charles have faced in the past 12 months with COVID shutting down cinemas across the UK and around the world, and we look ahead to how we can support them when they return. Jonathan and I also dive into his favourite A24 films, Mid90s and Uncut Gems. Thank you so much to Jonathan for joining me, and I hope you too will enjoy the show and discussion and support your local independent cinemas when they open. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Jonathan Foster. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, Lee. Thanks for having me on, man. It's good to finally be on here and to properly meet you and everything. It's been nice. You've been really supportive of us over the years, so it's been nice.
It's been a pleasure to have you on, to have you supportive of our podcast. Obviously, you are a podcaster too, but you also work at sort of the revered Prince Charles Cinema in London. For those that are kind of tuning in and might not be familiar with you and your kind of list of shows, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, my name is Jonathan Foster. Hey, I've been working at the Prince Charles Cinema for about 6 years now. Maybe a little over that, maybe going on 7 now. Jesus, I don't know. Time construct. Yeah. I've been working there. I started from the bottom. I was working as like an usher, just working my way up. So I ended up getting into managing, and I was a training manager for a while. So I was training front of house staff, and I ended up moving my way into the marketing and PR social media department, which is kind of where I'm at now. And then I started a podcast for the place. But the Prince Charles Cinema is just like this amazing cinema. It's one of a kind, really. I think it's one of the best cinemas in the world, where we just show a bunch of the old stuff, a bunch of new stuff. It's mostly second run. Like, we're not gonna get like the latest stuff out on release. We might get some really cool independent films like the ones we'll be talking about this afternoon on open release, like first week it's out, but for the most part it's usually a month or so, but most of the programs just lined up with like the best of, like, I don't know, you got your Citizen Kane, you got your Pulp Fiction, you got your The Room, like, it's like an eclectic mix of the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah.
You touched on it there, the kind of the Pod Charles podcast. What kind of inspired you to do the podcast?
I don't know. Talking to my colleague Paul, he's the programmer at the cinema. Shout out, Paul. And we were, I don't know, just trying to discuss things. Like, we had kind of been told by our owners and stuff to like come up with some creative ways to display a new face of the cinema. Like, just, I don't know, just something different, and something that can kind of like encapsulate what makes the Prince Charles Cinema special. And I was thinking, like, one of the biggest things that people say about us besides our program that they really like is that they really like our staff. And that was sort of what the idea was. I was like, oh, well, what we talk about on a week-to-week basis could easily just be about what's shown at the cinema and kind of like what's going on here. And we recorded at the cinema, and and then the idea was like, hey, yeah, invite on a different member of staff every week, and they can just come on and start talking about what films that are playing in that week that they're really excited about. And they usually just pick a film that they want to cover in depth, and that's usually kind of where we go. And it's been pretty fun up until like the last year or so, obviously, as most people would probably be aware of, that the world shut down, so did the cinemas. And so I've had to be really creative. It's not as cinema based anymore, but we're just, myself and my co-host Phil, we're just trying to have a really fun time with everything. I don't know how it sounds these days. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
What has it been like sort of working for sort of a cinema this kind of past year? What kind of challenges have you kind of faced with? We've had cinemas close, reopen, open, shut again, and kind of a lot of all the uncertainty around it, and also sort of having to completely change their model of how do we get people in, and events that we've probably taken for granted, like your Prince Charles all-nighters. Those are sort of a thing of the past for now. What's it been like sort of being at the kind of the coalface of this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a challenge. I mean, like we've really only had like 4 weeks of trade since March of last year. Like we shut our doors when the first lockdown happened, and we managed to reopen in October. We waited it out. We were trying to be smart and just make sure our cinema was, safe, and we had everything worked out with social distancing. And when it got to, October, we reopened, and then boom, 2 weeks later, here we go, lockdown two. And then once that was lifted, we were like, all right, well, we knew things were working in October, so let's reopen. We reopened, and then a month later, Christmas time. I mean, we only had 2 more weeks, so it was like 2 weeks literally of being open before that next lockdown was issued for London. I guess it was tier 3 at that point before before lockdown 3. But yeah, it's been really a challenge because you're never really sure. I guess with the cinema industry is kind of a funny business right now. Like obviously we've seen like a lot of platforms like Netflix and Apple and HBO and Disney and all these crazy platforms like just really benefit from the fact that people have nothing to do but stay at home. And it's really obviously like throwing a wrench into the cinema industry, but that's not really our bread and butter. Like I said, we get, if we get new stuff, it's like a month later, and it's not even the biggest of the new stuff. So it's like we can still rely on our program being like second run and repertory like program. So yeah, like we show older things all the time, and we had a really really good turnout of people coming out to support us and buying tickets and pre-sales and all that for us, and that was great. So like if you're a listener of this podcast and you come to the Prince Charles Cinema, thanks so much if you were one of those people that bought tickets during that time, because it showed us that it's still possible to have a cinema during all this. It's still possible to show older films and know that cinema can exist alongside streaming platforms. And there's no problem with streaming platforms with me. Like I mean, I'm fine with them. Like I feel like they're kind of essential right now. I mean, technology just like changed the world, of like digital streaming from home and stuff. And it's probably been a godsend for a lot of people during this pandemic to have something like that. So but I think there's still a world out there where cinema can exist.
And this, like, some of the support you've kind of received as well has been kind of amazing from like directors and kind of the media out there. You've seen some like really great pieces online and in magazines like Empire, and kind of so much love from people like Edgar Wright and just kind of Joe Public for a cinema like you. It must be quite humbling to sort of see the love that people have for your cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great. Like I mean the support we've had since we closed that first time from all the patrons, and then of course like our celebrity patrons and stuff has been really amazing. I mean, Edgar Wright's always been really really supportive of not only us but just cinema in general and London cinemas. And so it's great to have him champion us, and then people like Empire magazine like reaching out, and you have Time Out London helping us out and stuff at times, and just writing up good pieces. And then also like just things like the BFI, we managed to get like a culture refund. I'm trying to think of what that was called. But yeah, it was a grant basically via the BFI, the Culture Recovery Fund. That's what it was. And yeah, it was really nice to have all that support, and it like helped, having, like I said, again, customers, really supporting us during the time. Like we were doing a lot of refunds and stuff, and they were like, offering to help us out by like letting us keep the money for their tickets. And they were, buying merchandise. We got a new web store up during that time, and yeah, it's been great. It's been nice as well. Our team has been really strong and stuff. We've got like a core group of people. It's not many of us that have really just been working hard together to just kind of keep things afloat and try to keep morale going during one of the most uncertain times in our history. So yeah.
What do you kind of think the future is going to be for cinema? Like the week we're recording, there was like talk about like people getting like fast track testing before stepping into kind of the cinema, like which was the most ridiculous idea I could ever imagine. Like, could you imagine having one of those sort of like in Leicester Square and then just like hovering around Chinatown or something, waiting to get your test result before going to see like Home Alone 2 or something?
Yeah, I mean, like I tweeted out about that I thought that was absurd, and luckily, like I've seen that the CEA has like backed up that is kind of absurd and doesn't really work for the cinema model, especially like in a place as busy as like Leicester Square. I mean, people don't come to the cinema on time. If you've ever been to a cinema, you notice that there's always going to be a few stragglers coming in after the film's already started. So just imagine like trying to run a business and keep to schedules and stuff. I mean, that's one of the biggest things with cinemas. You have to kind of keep to schedule, and having like a rapid testing sort of like set up, like a pop-up rapid testing sort of thing going on outside the cinema before you let people in, hoping that they're going to turn up in time. I mean, that's just going to throw off your entire program. Like there's no way you can have your 8:45 showing plus a 9:15 or a 9 o'clock upstairs like at the same time, especially when you're thinking of social distancing and people wanting to buy things and all that sort of stuff. It's just, that sounds like an utter nightmare. But of course, it comes from people who have no idea how to run any of these establishments, but I'm not going to get too political.
Yeah. So kind of when I reached out to you, I asked you sort of like to kind of pick two A24 films for sort of discussion today. And like, I was like, just take your time. There's no rush. And you came back like straight away with like Uncut Gems and Mid90s. What kind of made you pick those? Because obviously you did not need time to pick those two out of like the 100 odd that you had the choice from.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I did like go back and like look before I sent them in to you, like to scroll through. I mean, there's a few others that I thought were like great choices, but I mean, those have been two of like one, Uncut Gems has been like one of the most insane films to come into the Prince Charles cinema, but also into like my life, and just like it holds a big important part of our podcast as well. My former co-host Ariane, she's like obsessed with it, so I felt like I would do a disservice to her if I didn't pick this. And yeah, I mean, it's just a really amazing film. um I felt like it would also like be a fun thing to talk about when it comes to the cinema experience and how that film played at the Prince Charles Cinema. But also with Mid90s, that was such a really important thing to see, and I didn't realize it until like I didn't know what it was going to be until I finally saw it. And when I saw it, I was like, man, that was sort of like the way I grew up, not even from California, but it was just like that was my shared experience. There's something about that film that just feels so relatable, and I feel like anyone could watch it. And I'm sure we'll get to it, but like anyone could watch that film and see some sort of bit of like themselves or something that's very relatable when watching that film. So
Yeah, we'll dive into Mid90s first. So when did you first watch Mid90s? What was that viewing experience like? Was that the cinema, at home, streaming?
yeah, I actually did watch it at home on Netflix. I'm really bad about watching some of the new films at the cinema, mainly because I say this a lot, and I say it on the podcast, and it's really bad. But like, I'm bad about watching new films because we'll have them at the cinema, like we had in Mid90s at the cinema. But like, I'm at the cinema most like, well, when the cinema was open, I was at the cinema like, I don't know, 32, 34, sometimes more hours a week. And the last thing I wanted to do was like stick around and like watch a film when I just like was burnt out and just kind of wanted to go home. And that sounds horrible. but a lot of times, like when I was at the cinema, I would, if I was going to stay, I was going to try to watch something older or something. I'm a bit of like, I'm not one of those people that's like a snob for the older films, but like sometimes I do appreciate them a little bit more. And it takes me a little, I like to let like newer films fester a little bit before like I catch them. So I finally caught it on Netflix, maybe like just prior to the Oscars and stuff, like that, the award season sort of like time. And yeah, man, it was such a thing to see. Like it was like, it was so nice to see it. I was completely blown away by it.
You obviously touched on it. You are not a Californian American, but how did you kind of relate to Mid90s as your experience as sort of like an American kind of growing up? How did it kind of match up with your experience?
Well, one, although I'm not from California, I always felt like I should have been or something. Like I felt like a transplant. I'm from like Southern Virginia, and I don't talk like this, like, you know, a lot of my fellow Virginians talk. Like I don't have that Southern accent, but I always just kind of lived on the fringes, man. I loved like skateboarding when I was a kid, and I was more of a punk rocker, so I wasn't into like a lot of hip hop. I liked, you know, some when I was a kid, and then I've grown to appreciate some later. I mean, this soundtrack for this film is unbelievable. Some really good, strong picks. I guess we'll talk about Jonah Hill a little bit, but I mean, obviously he had a lot to do with that. But I feel like had like a similar experience. I mean, this film is really like, I don't know, like slightly like biographical towards Jonah Hill's upbringing. Like, you know, it's like a shared experience, and like I had similar sort of experiences to that growing up. Like, you know, it's not exactly the same as this kid has in this film, but you know, I skateboarded and I was like getting into mischief and hanging out with people that were like older than me, and kind of like, you know, especially when I started playing punk rock music, and I was like going to parties and stuff, and you would just get drunk and do stupid stuff, and like, you know, dealing with like parents and older siblings, and yeah, just I was like a latchkey kid as well, so I was like, you know, just running wild, but like being good. I was a good boy. I wasn't a bad boy. This little kid kind of gets into a little bit of trouble, but you know, underage drinking and all that sort of stuff most kids do. That's the thing. I feel like it's very relatable, because whether or not you skateboard or you listen to hip hop or you have any of the exact same experiences as this kid, it's just like somewhere along the way you've probably done something stupid hanging out with older kids, and had your first drink or something, went to your first party, had your first experience of riding in a car that wasn't driven by like a parent or something. You know what I mean? Like this, it's really relatable, this film.
Kind of, you touched on it, like the sibling relationships. What did you sort of make of that relationship between Stevie and Ian? Was that one that you kind of had? Were you the younger or the older kind of brother? What was that sort of dynamic like in the Foster household?
Yeah, I was the younger, so I definitely like was a bit of a Stevie at the time, where like my older sibling, like I would go into their room and check out like their video games or CDs or something like that, or always want to tag around. Like we were closer than age. Like obviously Stevie and what's his name again? Sorry, you just said
Ian.
Ian.
Like
Ian,
that is
yeah.
not a Californian name whatsoever. Like you never. I never realized it until today, where I was like writing down the questions, and it was like, yeah, what is the brother's name? Ian. Like I had to do like a double check
Keep
of that.
forgetting
Like,
his name.
That's very wrong.
But yeah, Ian is obviously quite a bit older than Stevie, so there's a big age gap. So my sister and I, we were like 2.5 years difference. So, but I was always kind of like wanting to tag along and be a part of the group and stuff. And because we were like closer in age, it was a little bit easier. But you know, those fights that you have with your siblings and stuff, you know, you just like, it can just be some of the worst fights you ever get into. It'll be with your sibling, and it's because of like just a lot of stupid things and just jealousy. And but obviously at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you love each other and stuff, so it's like it's really stupid. But yeah, I mean, the Ian and Stevie relationships really, it was like really strange. I've seen this film 3 times now. So the first time I watched it, I was like, obviously I just want to see it. I loved it so much that like I watched it again soon after, like I don't know, maybe a few months later, because I was I don't know, lockdown kind of like threw me into a skateboarding spiral. Like I feel like a lot of people had kind of like gotten back into skateboarding or gotten into skateboarding for the first time. And so I was like, man, this is a sick skateboarding film. Like I feel like I should talk about that as well. It's just like, it's an amazing skateboarding film because it's so realistic. Like the things that they do in the film, like you have some of the best skaters, like young skaters, were particularly Ray. Yeah, it's Ray. But yeah, it's got Nakel Smith in it, who is a sick skater. So the guy who plays fuck shit, I'm not too entirely sure of his name. He's pretty good as well. But Nakel Smith is like an amazing skater. He's got this he's part of this company called Fucking Awesome, and he's incredible. So those two guys are actually really good skaters, and they are doing legit things. And some of the stuff that they're doing in the film is just like completely legit. The way you would, like, you know, when Stevie takes that huge spill off of the roof and stuff, and it's just like, it's just really legit, you know, injuries and stuff. And there's not like camera tricks, and like there's been quite a few skateboarding films over the years that are just like a joke, like a complete joke for a skateboarder. So this film is like just a really good gateway drug, I think, for young kids who want to get into drugs, no, to get into skateboarding. It's a good film for that. And yeah, I mean, the relationship with the brothers, though, when I first saw this film, Ian and Stevie, that was just like a really funny relationship. I didn't really know what to think of those two, and like what what was going on there and stuff. And then I saw it again, and I had a little bit more of a think. And then the most recent viewing, before I was like viewing it for this podcast, there's a lot of weird things with the juice. Did you notice that? There's juice, like the orange juice. All right. So I think what's going on here is the juice is power. And it's a very like, leave it to Jonah Hill as well, because he's probably really obsessed with like 90s. I mean, obviously 90s culture. He's making this film called Mid90s and filling it with like 90s hip hop and stuff. But there's like that saying of having the juice. They even made a film like with Tupac called Juice, and Omar Epps and stuff. Sick film. But like having juice is having power. And the brother has the juice throughout the film, and he's always drinking the orange juice. And then at one point, Stevie, you know, when Stevie like basically just like comes home, he's drunk, and he just tells him to fuck off and just like runs to the fridge, steals the juice, and then he just like runs away, and then like tells him he has no friends and stuff. And then like Ian catches him, beats him down, and then like starts crying and stuff. And then at the end of the film, he comes and he has 2 bottles of juice, small, and he gives one to Stevie. And I think that was like, Stevie took the power away from Ian. And then at the end, it was sort of like they grew to like respect each other. And that was Ian giving Stevie a little miniature bit of juice. So they are both on the same level. Like, it's a weird thing to think about, but I think that's what was going on.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, it was an interesting one for me. Like, I wasn't a skateboarder as a kid. I did a bit more rollerblading, but my brother was the skateboarder. And I remembered him sort of having like the mini digital camera, and he was making those like skating videos of going down like ramps, like government buildings, things like that. And you were just like, and they would edit them together, you know. And I was watching that thinking like, yeah, that was kind of the late 90s, early 2000s, but like, American culture at that time tended to come over quite slow to America. With now, you know, with the internet, everything's so quick. Whereas then everything was a few years behind. Those baggy jeans, the skateboarding, 90s music culture. It kind of took those few years too late to come. And I was watching that going, yeah, that was my younger brother. He was the one that was going around. I would be at school and I would see him like, oh, there he is, like hanging out with the wrong crowd, smoking with the wrong group. He's smoking weed. Oh shit, my mum is going to be so angry at the news of this. And it was like, and you're like, I'm not going to rat him in, but I've got it in my back pocket. And I could see that dynamic. I never beat him, but we would have like our arguments and stuff as a kid. And I could just see that going, yeah, I was maybe the Ian in that kind of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I that's what I mean. It's just like, I feel like it's really relatable regardless of like what you're into and stuff, because it's just like such a true story of just like growing up. And it's like, yeah, it's an amazing story. And I know it's a lot to do with like Jonah Hill's sort of backstory of being like obsessed with skateboarding and stuff, and like hanging around a shop, like a skate shop. I read a really interesting article about the skate shop he used to hang out at, and how the people there were always just like, oh yeah, that was like Fat Jonah or something. Like he was just like this fat kid who was annoying and hung out there and stuff, and he would always be there. And you know, and then also you have like Big Brother magazine appears, which basically Big Brother magazine would go on to like fuse with CKY, which was like Bam Margera and his crew of friends making dumb videos, and they would like formed Jackass together, which became what it is. I mean, a huge thing, but like, yeah, you have Jonah Hill, who is obsessed with like Big Brother, so of course he puts that in there, and just like I really like, it's just very stylish, man. Like the whole like pastiche of like mid-90s. It's just like a really nice like thing that he cultivated there. It's a really nice film, like really stylish, really cool, like characters. I mean, just like the fact that they had people like Nicole Smith, who's this like skateboarder who's mostly known for hanging out with like Tyler the Creator before this film. You know, not really like an experienced actor, but like would show up in his weird like videos, like is amazing in it, and has some really nice moments where him and Stevie are sort of like talking to each other, and just that monologue he has about his brother dying and stuff. And like, yeah, it's just like really nice film.
Did you have any sort of preconceptions about what like a Jonah Hill directed film could be like, kind of going in? And like, what did you make of sort of his like choices? He kind of plays with aspect ratios, maybe what he's like with sort of younger actors, and kind of filming the skateboard sequences. Obviously James Franco had been taken on directing as well, and a lot of that kind of generation had got involved in writing as well. What did you make of sort of Jonah Hill? What was your expectations going in, and were you surprised by his choices?
Well, I always thought Jonah Hill was a pretty like incredible actor and stuff, and I felt like, you know, over the years he's really just grown. I mean, obviously, like you had a really funny sort of like start with his career. Like he was in a bunch of like weird things, just sort of being a side character, like Accepted and stuff like that, and then you don't really know what to make of him. But then, you know, he has this huge breakout in Superbad, obviously, so that's like a really nice funny role for him being younger. And then he really starts to spread his wings with like Moneyball, and of course Wolf of Wall Street, and you're just like, holy shit, he's like an amazing actor. So you start to think, oh well, maybe like, you know, him making a film could be interesting. I'm curious to see what he does. And then yeah, like churning out mid-90s, it's like, okay, great, I can see he's like a total nerd for what he's into. I'm curious of how he could follow it up. I really want him to, but I'm, you know, seeing that like how he's obviously like sort of created this amazing film about like something he's really passionate about, which I guess most directors would, but like, you know, some people I feel like can just like just I don't know, like create a film kind of about anything, just like a interesting story, be able to tell it and stuff. But like this feels like such a passion project. Like it'd be interesting to see what he does with something that's maybe a little bit different, or like if it will have that same sort of vibe. I just feel like there's like a, yeah, really like strong vibes with this film. So I'm curious to see, because I really like this. I'm curious to see what he does next, if he decides to continue to direct, which I think he should, you know.
You touched on it earlier, the soundtrack. It's quite a surprising soundtrack. Like if I went into it, I was thinking like it's going to have just hip hop songs, kind of West Coast rap. It's very kind of diverse in terms of like a lot of the song choices that they go with. Did that kind of surprise you? Like when you start hearing Kiss from a Rose by Seal, did that sort of go, okay, my expectations are being subverted here?
Well, I mean, Kiss from a Rose by Seal is one of my favorite songs, low key. So it's not gonna be a bad day at the office, you know, if I'm having to watch a film with Kiss from a Rose. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of a nice like mixture, because obviously you have like Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross doing like the original soundtrack, which is, or the score, which is like amazing, and it's really some really good pieces of music that, and come on, those guys kind of almost always create some really amazing scores. But yeah, you have a really nice mixture of like songs from that era. So there's like a Pixie song in it, and there's Nirvana, like from the Unplugged, MTV Unplugged show. Like you've got like a Misfits song, which is really cool. But yeah, and then a really nice mix of 90s hip hop, which is like mostly dominates the soundtrack. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really nice soundtrack that doesn't it doesn't stay in one genre, which is really cool. I think I like the fact that it's very diverse and has like something for everyone, really.
I like that was something for me that I related to incredibly, was like at the time where we were kind of like, we became sort of teenagers in the early noughts, and like we would go to house parties, and like Nirvana Unplugged on VHS was pretty much always on in the background. Like someone had the video, or that, or Alice in Chains. I remember just hearing that like song playing. I was like, that's the Unplugged album. Like that's what we were listening to. Yeah, it was a couple years late, but it was weird that that was sort of a connection between like people hanging out and partying in like early 2000s Scotland and mid-90s kind of California. That really caught me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like the power of just Nirvana in general, and just like they were such like a transcending band, you know, like, and it was something that stuck around forever. And particularly the song that was in that film was like that really awesome Lead Belly like cover of like "Where'd You Sleep Last Night," which is such an amazing song. It was probably one of the most popular songs from that album. I do have to admit, there's also I forgot about it. There's that like Herbie Hancock song called like "Watermelon Man" that's in it, and that's particularly from a skateboard video. So that's how nerdy Jonah Hill was about making this film, because that's from a very famous skateboard part from a skate video. So that was really cool to see as well. I think that's playing during the party scene, and the way he edits during that is like really cool. Oh yeah, and you were talking about aspect ratio. Like, I think it was really awesome how this film's mostly in 4:3, because it's like you would, it's the way you would see a film back in the mid-90s as well. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. It was like, you know, and then also skateboarders would still almost to this day still like sometimes film in that aspect ratio, because they would just use old video cameras and stuff. And then you had the fisheye lens and stuff during the reveal of fourth grade's skate video at the end, which I think is such a great way to end the film as well. Like, you know, I'm glad they didn't end it on like a like a complete bummer or something of like of the wreck. You know, there's the scary wreck. I mean, which like again, unfortunately feels like a little too familiar from being young and dumb, especially in America, because it's like it's harder to get like when you're young as well to get like rides and stuff, or like to get um public transport, because it's not really a thing, especially when you're in a small place or whatever, and you do make some really stupid decisions like getting in the car with people who shouldn't be driving. So it's like seeing that like play out. I'm glad it didn't end there, because they could have easily just like ended it there. But like, yeah, it was really a nice ending to like have them all in the hospital and no one's dead, and just like the playing of this video that fourth grade who's kind of been made fun of the whole time, like, and he just kind of reveals himself to be this amazing little skateboard video maker, which is great. Like, it's really nice, like cool way to end the film. So
I think I remember, like, obviously you got to watch it on Netflix. I was lucky enough to see it in the cinema. It was like the opening film at the Glasgow Film Festival. So
nice.
I watched that film with like a sellout crowd, and it's always interesting when I've watched it 3 times as well. I watched it for the 3rd time just before we did this, 2nd time before we did our episode years ago, and for the first time in the cinema. And it was so surreal watching it in a cinema, because you get that heightened anxiety about certain scenes, like when they're kind of on the rooftops and you're like, oh shit, he is going to fall through the cracks. Like, your anxiety is going up through there. Like the car crash, like you just start thinking, oh god, it's going to come, something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen. And the scene that felt the most awkward in the cinema, and I remember just seeing people looking around each other, was that party scene. Alexa Demi, you know, I'm a fan of her. Like, this was my first introduction to her, and just seeing like a teenage girl hitting on this young boy,
yeah.
and just like there's that awkward tension, and you can just feel it in a cinema of like everyone just like, is this going to happen here? And you're in a room, it's all dark, you've got no phones, no distractions, and you're just like, okay, and all you can just hear is like the kissing and the making out. Like, that is like testament to the cinema experience as well.
Yeah, that scene's really interesting as well, because part of you like obviously will feel a bit like yikes, but at the same time it's like, one, again, another relatable thing. I'm sure a lot of like young guys or young girls, which I mean is unfortunate, but like you end up falling into like a weird first experience that way or something, and kids just being stupid at parties and stuff. But that also in this film in general sort of reminds me a lot of like, Kids or something, like from Harmony Korine and
Yeah.
Larry Clark, and then also another Larry Clark film called What's Up Rockers. And I know like Larry Clark is he's a bit of a funny one. He's like someone who like, yeah, just it's yeah, he's just his films can be a bit funny. Like, it's kind of like I'm wondering where his intentions are most of the time. But obviously, Kids is a pretty seminal film from sort of this era, and was written by Harmony Korine, and that launched his career. And he's in the film as well, which is amazing. He plays like the weird guy that just comes out of the mom's bedroom, like when Stevie's just like going to the toilet or something. So like it's funny. Like I'm sure that must have been a big influence on Jonah Hill in making this film.
Any final thoughts on Mid90s before we move on to Uncut Gems, Jonathan?
Like I said, I feel like anyone could find this to be a relatable film, and I think it's really good. It's got an awesome soundtrack, really fun like story for anyone that's sort of inspiring to be a skateboarder or something. Obviously, it's a bit mature in its themes, so if you got a kid or something, maybe wait a little while to show
that kid's going to be
film,
watching it anyway. Like
yeah,
they don't care.
yeah,
like the parents aren't. Like they'll be streaming it
yeah.
on Netflix. They'll go wild.
I mean, I was one of those kids, so it's like I watched a lot of stuff. So it's really hard for me to say that with a straight face because yeah, man, like I used to watch Child's Play films at like 5 years old. But anyway, but yeah, it's just it's a great movie, and I think you don't even need to be into skateboarding to find a lot of merit in it. It's like you'll find it relatable, I'm sure, if you had siblings or just were once a kid. So yeah.
So Uncut Gems. So I'm going to use my experience first off to do this as like a kind of diving off point. So I think we probably both saw it around the same time. Like I went to the London Film Festival when it aired in 2019, and I booked my prize tickets kind of on the spot. We bought like a BFI membership to guarantee it because I was 100% confident that it was going to be Uncut Gems. Like people were whispering in my ears maybe near the time, it's going to be Parasite, and it's like, no, it's Uncut Gems. And like when I watched it with my usual co-host, like we were sitting there and they were like, and now we've got an introduction from the directors involved, and I was like, directors, it's the Safdie Brothers, here we go. And I watched it at like 10 p.m. at night, Leicester Square, thousands of people packed in, and like no one knows what to expect from these things. Like the previous year had been like Green Book, for example, and this year you follow up with Uncut Gems, which it feels wrong to call it a divisive movie, but within that crowd, it was a divisive movie. Like, you had people walking out. You had people, like, getting up with time to go left. I'm the same sometimes as a lot of people. I like to search on Twitter afterwards to, like, a surprise movie to see, like, what's the general audience's expectation of that movie. And the reviews were negative. Like, how could you show a film like this? Like, it's, it should have been something more family friendly. How could you do this? Like, that was terrible. Adam Sandler, what are you thinking? And like, me and a lot of my friends were like, that was one of the best films of the year. How incredible was that? And like, looking at our heart rates from the past previous, whereas I can maybe imagine you watching it in like the home of like kind of cinema fans, like the Prince Charles Cinema, and having a very kind of different audience experience.
Well, actually, the first time I saw it wasn't even at the Prince Charles. Like Ariane, my former co-host, she's actually part of what we're currently working on with Breadcrumbs. She's on the Patreon edition of our podcast as well. So, I mean, she's still very much around, but she like had the same experience as you. Went to go see it at the BFI London Film Festival as the secret film, and she was like you, confident that it was going to be Uncut Gems, like really hopeful and stuff, and she managed to get in. And yeah, it was great just to hear how excited she was for it. So we got offered myself and Paul got offered, but he took me along because he's a good fellow, to go see a preview of it at a little sort of like cinema room in Soho, like just one of the, like, yeah, there's so many of these like weird little cinema rooms in these hotels and stuff, and like just different distributors will like hire them out and invite like industry people around just to kind of get to get like a feel for the film, and also to see if anybody wants to book it into their cinemas and stuff. And yeah, like it was it was like sort of a crazy thing, like where I just like went in and kind of had no expectations of it. Unfortunately, like I was late to the party on Good Time as well. Like I actually saw Good Time like 2 days or so after watching Uncut Gems for the first time, because I knew of it and we showed it at the cinema. Like I said, though, I'm bad about watching new films. I like to let them fester, and I think I'm happy that I did it the way I did it, because it gave me more of an appreciation for Robert Pattinson. And then also, Lighthouse came out soon around that time as well, so it was sort of like, yeah, great, I'm on board. But yeah, I saw this little teeny room and it was like so cool. Like I had no idea what, like I didn't look up anything about it. I just sort of like went in without even really knowing what I was getting into. Just knew Adam Sandler was in it and he was supposed to be amazing. So I was just like completely just blown away. It was like, yeah, like get the sweats almost watching like it's such a like an adrenaline rush of a movie, just like cringy, like, oh god, why are you doing this, stop being so stupid. And then like I knew what it was going to be like, and I went to the cinema when we finally had it. Like we were really, really lucky to be offered via Altitude, because they were running sort of via Netflix. They run a lot of those titles in the UK. And we had CPC London, who created a 35 millimeter print, the only print in the UK. And actually, funny enough, I just found this. They made these really nice little like bookmark things, and I had this sitting around. So yeah, they were like really cool. They made this print for us, and we showed it like at the cinema on the run when it came out in the UK. Probably actually we had some preview screenings, I think we were allowed to do, so we were like early as well. And we were like one of the few places in London that were even showing it, which was very surprising as well. And I knew what I was getting into, and I brought Julia, my wife, with me to see it. And that was such an experience, man. Like seeing it at the Prince Charles Cinema, and we had like 300 people in there. And oh my God, like it was, I talk about this sometimes about like being in a cinema, and sometimes there's good noise and there's bad noise. Bad noise would be your like loud food or people talking, or people like laughing inappropriately at things that aren't like, come on, or people, just kind of ruining the experience for everyone else. But then there's the sounds that are like when the whole room is really like on board for having a good time, like seeing something like Die Hard, and like everyone's up for it. Everyone's cheering for Alan Rickman's first appearance on screen, and shouting out yippee-ki-yay motherfucker and stuff. So it's like a really, really fun experience when you have a good crowd. And that's what it was like for Uncut Gems. You just had this, like, you can feel it, man, the atmosphere in that room, everyone on the edge of their seats, because there's a point in Uncut Gems where it just starts to go and it doesn't stop. It's just like, you think for a minute he's like winning and he's got his money and he's going to do something smart, and then he goes and makes another bet, and it's just like, stop. And you have all these people just like on the edge of the seats, just groaning in the tension, and just like, oh, and those sounds like were incredible, because that shows the power of cinema, man. Like just like that room and feeling it, you could feel it, like you could feel it. It was so cool. Like I'm so glad that I went back to see it again at the cinema, to see it on 35 as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, I went back to see it again in the cinema, I think about 4 months later. And it's always one of those things, especially with Uncut Gems, where you know it's going to hit certain chaotic markers. And like, you can relax a little bit more, and you almost kind of start to like look, I don't know if you're the same, you just look around the room, what's the person I'm with, kind of respond, and just like, I know how I felt when certain things happen. I'm like, what are they going to do? And I remember sort of taking a seat towards the back just so I could watch what a crowd was like unfolding in front of me when moments happen. Like something's off to happen, my eyes are just removed from the screen, and it's like just looking at the crowd in front of me, and just seeing that, as you say, that noise, even the silence you get sometimes can be like, that is good noise in a way, because you're just like, people are tense and uncomfortable. And yeah,
silence is deafening sometimes, for sure.
Obviously you hadn't kind of seen sort of Good Time before. Did you have any sort of expectation going about like what an Adam Sandler Safdie Brothers movie could be like?
Well, obviously not with Safdie Brothers because I just wasn't really familiar with them. I heard their names, I knew of Good Time, and I knew of its reputation, but like I just hadn't seen it, so I didn't know what to expect. But obviously, like I've grown up like watching Adam Sandler films since a little kid. I obviously was like born in '89, and I like grew up through the early '90s, so I got to like see all of Adam Sandler's biggest hits, and I was a big fan of his, watching Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and all that crap, all that crap. But then obviously, like he just started making some pretty like serious films, like he would do with PTA, with Punch Drunk Love, and then he did that film Rain Over Me soon after 9/11ish. I guess it was a few years after, but like where he looks like Bob Dylan. Which is incredible and underrated. I feel like not enough people talk about that film. Really strong performance from him. And yeah, then there'd be a few other things like Spanglish and stuff. So he's done a few things that were like, borderline serious roles. So I knew and I heard that it was like an amazing performance. So I was really psyched for it. I was really interested and curious to see, because I kind of knew like what Good Time was about, like, and the vibe of it, and sort of like that it was gritty and dark and all that sort of stuff without having seen it, because I work at the cinema and like we showed it, and I remember like the trailers and reading about it and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of knew that it could be very similar. And then I also heard about how it was sort of this nice career resurgence for Robert Pattinson, and it was like a breath of fresh air for him, someone who'd been like anchored by like being in Twilight and stuff, and say what you want about those films, whatever. I mean, he certainly has a huge audience from that, but he obviously was like anchored by the fact that it was like this teeny bopper sort of film and stuff, and also Harry Potter as well. So it was nice to like for him to have that, to like just show a new side of him. And then now he's gotten to do a lot more interesting things, and or he was always doing interesting things. I just don't think people were paying attention to him before, because he had a few films prior to doing Good Time that were also pretty interesting. But so I was like, yes, cool, like I want this from Adam Sandler, because I've seen him do these roles before and I know he's capable. It's like Will Ferrell as well, and even Eddie Murphy to a certain degree. Like I really want Eddie Murphy to do a film with the Softies now, or even Will Ferrell would be great as well. They're like these really talented actors who are really amazing comedian actors as well. So you're just sort of like, okay, like you can do an awesome role from time to time. Why don't you do it more? Like, it's like, your career in comedy maybe isn't like sort of what it used to be. So why not change it up a little bit? But at the end of the day, I'm happy for them if that's what they're happy to do. And to be honest, like, Adam Sandler didn't win that Oscar in the end, or he didn't even get nominated. So he went and made a horrible movie in Hubie Halloween, and actually is kind of nice and fun. I was actually, pleasantly surprised by it. So
what did you make of the character of Howard? Was he someone that you found quite interesting to watch? What did you make of him?
Man, he's like, oh God. Like I really sort of like the character in some ways. Like he's sort of like slightly endearing, but at the same time, he's just like such a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like he's like one of these people that just has there's just no like limit to him. Like it's just, he just always is going to go over the line. And it's very stressful. It's like I don't know. I feel like probably everyone's known someone that's sort of like that, like in some degree or another. And, it's just like, it's hard to like imagine being around this person or being a part of this person's life. But he's obviously like someone that commands a lot of respect from people, or at least somehow has people like care about him, which is kind of surprising. Like even all those people in the diamond districts, of New York, like all these people that like he owes money to, who still like will go out of the way to ask him, well, so how you doing, Bubby? Like, and RIP to that guy. I just actually saw, I can't remember his name, but the Softies, I think, had posted out that guy that passed away yesterday or the day before. So, but anyway, sorry, downer, but it's a downer of a movie as well, isn't it?
Obviously, basketball plays a key role in
Yeah.
this. Like, I don't know about you, Jonathan. Like, I barely watched it in my life. Like, my most exposure to basketball was the basketball movie, and then like watching Uncut Gems, and then going into sort of the the name escapes me, but the Michael Jordan documentary that was on Netflix this year.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gripped by I was gripped by both of them. Like, I was right into it. Are you kind of a basketball fan, and what was that like as an American to watch, like an American pastime kind of play out on screen as a gripping thing?
Yeah, well, I was always more of a baseball fan growing up, but as a kid, I really loved basketball, and Michael Jordan was like my bread and butter. Like, I loved the Bulls and that whole era, and seeing like The Last Dance recently was just like incredible. And we actually just did a episode on Space Jam for the Pod Charles Cinecast, so that'll be out by the time this goes out. So yeah, like being able to talk about that sort of era was amazing. And then like Uncut Gems, like it's a little bit like after I sort of got out of basketball, but I obviously knew who Kevin Garnett was, and seeing Kevin Garnett like be able to come into this film like and do what he did, like we joked about it a lot. Ariane, she would, before I saw Uncut Gems, would say like, "Oh, Kevin Garnett's the best like basketball player turned actor ever." And I was just like, come on, get out of here. Like, just kind of messing around saying that Michael Jordan was great and stuff. But obviously Michael Jordan's not a good actor. He's actually pretty terrible in Space Jam.
He's no KG.
He's no KG. But there is also LeBron James, who is actually pretty entertaining. He's pretty funny. So looking forward to Space Jam 2. But I mean, this era of basketball, like, I was sort of slightly familiar with it. It was actually when I was living in Philadelphia or about to move to Philly. So it was kind of interesting to see that era of the 76ers be there. Like, and I kind of remember they were like a really good team the year before I moved to Philly. And then when I moved to Philly, they had kind of like, I think losing to the Celtics kind of like it's caused them to fall back a bit. So that was interesting. But like, the way they show basketball is like kind of an interesting format, because also like betting as well, like sports betting, like I can't get my head wrapped around it and stuff, but the way they do it in this film is like makes it really kind of accessible to anyone. Like, you don't need to be into basketball or into betting to sort of understand what's going on. And I think that's like a really, really good thing that they did, because there's a lot of terms like parlays and blah 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 and all this sort of stuff that I don't understand, but like, it's just kind of laid out nicely, and it makes it really easy and accessible, and it's like fun. It was like surprisingly a fun thing to kind of get behind. I think sports films are always really fun as well. Like, so, to have that as an element in the background of this man's like insane mania and like gambling addiction, it's just like, it's crazy kind of, yeah, it's crazy.
We've touched on it with like KG, but the film is filled with so many of these great supporting characters. Who kind of stood out for you?
Well, obviously Lakeith Stanfield is amazing in this film as Damani. Like, he's so God, he's so cool, and he's had such an incredible last couple of years as well. Like, sorry to bother you and all that, but the person, oh my God, like the person that really stood out has got to be Julia Fox. Like, from out of nowhere. Like, where did she come from? It's amazing. Like, it's kind of funny to look into that and stuff and just hear about how she was like just this weird sort of model and artist and stuff who would do some pretty insane stuff and was just friends with the Safdies, and kind of just put into this film and just exploded. Like, she's insanely good in this movie.
Talking of supporting characters, let's hear from Wayne Diamond and Jake Ryan, who played roles in Uncut Gems, and hear about their experience working on the film. One of the things that surprised me in your post sort of 8th grade career, and it was I watched Uncut Gems last October in the cinema, and I was just like processing the film, like, wow, that was something special, that was incredible. And then I noticed Jake Ryan as Dwarf 2 in the credits, and I was like, is that the Jake Ryan from 8th grade? And I go on to IMDb as I'm sort of walking home, and I'm like, yep, that is Jake Ryan from 8th grade. How did this role come around? Because it's such an interesting credit there on your IMDb, there in the film, as Dwarf 2. And I suppose for people that might not be familiar with that scene, or maybe they kind of missed it, can you tell people a bit about your role as Dwarf 2 and how it came around?
Well, I can try. It was at that very same screening where I met the Safdie Brothers. Well, just Josh actually. So my brother was there as well. We were just trying to mingle, but eventually just decided that there was an after party for the screening. They had like popcorn, drinks. Although I'm still underage, but I couldn't drink. But I didn't drink any. Anyways, we were trying to mingle, and suddenly, I think we ended up talking to Josh Safdie. He had like this very scruffy beard, and I don't know, we were talking about like this scene from his childhood where he was at his house or his apartment or something, well, when he was younger. His dad was in the bath. He was with his friend, his dog, and his dad. His dad was in the bath. Sorry if this is kind of gross. His dad was in the bathroom, and his friend really had to go, so we had to go like right there on the like right in front of the bathroom. And his dad opened the door, and then his dad accidentally stepped on the you-know-what's-it, and then he blamed it on the dog, and then he realized that it was actually his friend, and then he chased him all around the apartment complex, and we had like a good laugh at that because it's such an interesting story. So then he came up, he asked me and my brother if we wanted to be in his new movie. Like he asked us if we played like basketball or something, and me and my brother looked at him, and I go, no, not really, because I'm not a liar, because I'm not very athletic at all. He's like, no, that's fine. I just want to put you in my movie. He was just like complimenting me and stuff like that, and made me feel nice. So then he went over to my mom. He was talking to Fred's mom, I think, and my mom was questioning the legitimacy of the situation because, again, I don't really know who people. I tend not to know who people are, which is probably for the best, just so I have like an authenticity to myself, or just so I don't get intimidated or nervous around anyone. So eventually, he was talking to my mom, saying like, I want to put you in my movie. It has like Adam Sandler inside of it. It has like Adam Sandler in it. And she's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, and he's like, yeah. We'll keep in touch. So a little while after that, I think it was like 6 months. I just got back from LA, and wait, was it? Okay, so we went through like the entire process, and we decided that I would just star in like a cameo role for Uncut Gems, which was an actor playing a dwarf. I still actually haven't seen Uncut Gems yet because I've been a little busy, but I only spent like a day there. I only spent like a day there. It took like 2 or 3 hours putting like all the makeup on and the nose, and they were gonna put me in like teeth, but it was uncomfortable, and they wanted to understand what I was saying, and it was cool. I didn't really know why Adam Sandler was dressed up like Neo from The Matrix, but it was very pleasant meeting him.
What were the Safdie brothers like as directors? Were they quite? I can imagine them being quite different to some of the talent that you've worked with before. What makes the Safdie brothers so special? I mean, it's great to see them getting the acclaim that they've deserved for years with Uncut Gems.
It was interesting because there were just 2 directors for the price of one, so they both had like their own outputs and stuff. So they both had like their own ideas, and they sort of like experimented a little bit.
And with Uncut Gems, like as I say, you've not seen it yet. Is it something that's on your like watch list to check out to see how you fit into this film and so on? Because I love the film. I would love to sit down and watch it with you with some chicken nuggets.
Yeah, that would be nice actually. Where would we meet up if that were the case?
That's true. I suppose there is a huge ocean and then a huge American, country that divides us. That's a good point. Well made. When did they first approach you with the idea of, Uncut Gems. Obviously,
5 years ago.
yeah.
5 years ago.
And was it always this role that they had in mind for you, or was it, hey, we're going to do something, we're going to give you a call?
The role they had in mind for me was, when they had the idea for the role for me, whatever it was, I can't say, but I'm a little too old to play that role right now. But they called me right away. We got a role for you, Wayne. Come on down, do a screen test. We need you to do the whole thing. So I went to Jennifer Vendetti, who's a terrific #1 cast director in New York. She says, "You're the guy." I mean, she liked me, I did one of the scenes, and after that, they said, "You're in," and they were just the greatest. I did the movie, I did the part, but you know what? One guy, Ronald Bronstein, who wrote the screenplay, said, "Wayne," and who I know since he's a little kid from Oceanside, Long Island, he said to me, "Wayne, nobody's ever going to forget your role in this movie." I said, "This part, 20 minutes in a movie? Come on. I mean, I really had for the fourth largest part, believe it or not. I mean, in a movie, if you think about it." And I said, "You're crazy. I mean, look what I'm doing here. Carry bags, whatever I did." And it turned out that I can't go anywhere without nobody recognizing me. I mean, everybody knew me in Europe and here. I was I'm a pretty well-known character. I'm a loudmouth. Everybody kind of knows me and likes me. It worked out well. I mean, I liked it. I liked a little bit of fame. And I think that I'm hoping to get me my next part with them in the next movie, which they said that I'm going to get something very big.
Touched on it there that you're well known, but then this film has skyrocketed you. There's something about you that people, hey, that's that guy from Uncut Gems, that last 20 minutes.
Who's that guy? Who's the guy?
When was the moment
I have a look and I talk funny, and I'm like, people like me. People think I'm like, they used to call me the legend in New York and in Miami and in St. Tropez. Hey, there's the legend, And now it's like worldwide. I'm like so happy. It's like the greatest. And I'm a nice guy. I mean, I don't want to hurt nobody. I just want to make people laugh. I like making people laugh. That's what I like to do.
When was that moment that you realized, oh my God, your mate was right about this, that people are going to remember you from this role? Was there a moment when the film started to come out?
I had no idea. No, you know what had happened? I guess we went to the opening at really the first opening was in Telluride. I didn't bother going, but we went to TIFF in Toronto. And when I was sitting in the audience in Toronto watching the film with my family there, and then I came on with the helicopter, and I'm talking, and then I get out. Everybody in the theater was laughing for 20 minutes, hysterical after being the tension that we had. The tension in the film. You saw the film, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen it quite a few times.
The tension, and all of a sudden, there it was. Boom! I cut the tension by getting off that helicopter. Hey, baby, whatever. I don't want to ruin the movie for anybody, but that's what I knew when they were all laughing. Then I asked my friends when they went to different, sightings of the film in New York, "What do you think?" Everybody laughed when you came on. So I kind of knew something was happening, Now I go out, everybody, can I take a picture with you? The funniest thing, who am I? The Safdies, McLeod, Adam, Dina Mansell, they spent their whole life being great. Terrific.
One of the things I think that everyone loves about your scenes together is the relationship between you and Julia Fox. You have great chemistry on screen. What was it like, you two working together?
The funniest thing with her was she was treating me like the whole time. I didn't understand that was a role, that all she was thinking about was Adam. Adam was her love, her baby, her baby. I didn't understand. I liked that we got along real good, sometimes. And then sometimes she was just so mean to me. And I didn't understand why. I said to her, "Why are you so mean?" She didn't want to get out of her head, her part, And I didn't get it. I had no clue. Because I didn't know her part. I only got my lines. That's what Safdies do. They don't give you everybody else's lines, so you don't know what they're thinking. So she was just a great chick. A great chick. I love being with her. She was a lot of fun. She was really cool. She's a really New York, down-to-earth New York girl. I don't know what she's doing in California. She's going to be back in New York. You don't belong out there. It's like being in Scotland, you know what I mean? And you live in London, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that I was curious as well, once I discovered your background in sort of design and so on, is did you get much input in your characters' costumes and so on, and what you would imagine your character wearing? Or did the Safdie Brothers have a very specific idea for how you would dress?
They know how I dressed. They know how I was. Just the way I look. I always wear black. I always look like this guy. But they wanted. All of a sudden, Josh tells the fashion director that he should be wearing leather pants. I mean, this is a joke. So she brings me a pair of pants that's like a 90-inch waist that weighed maybe 150 pounds. It was like something. If you were going to be in a fire, you put this on. So you didn't get burnt. I just said, hey, I'm not wearing these. I'm wearing my black jeans and what I'm wearing, and I wear my chrome heart, my long jacket, a nice, beautiful scarf, and that's it. And they went along with it because I wasn't going to wear that. I would have sweated to death, weighed so much. I like leather pants, but I'm a little old now,
You got to nicely mix it up as well. You got to wear the leather pants, and then you get to wear that towel. I mean, you rock that towel.
Yeah,
look.
the towel's important. Hey, let me tell you. When I had a body, baby. Gained a little weight over the last few years. You know what I mean? They made me push my belly out. I mean, they made me look like a fat. They made me look like Green. My buddy Green from the stores in London.
The one thing I thought was fantastic as well was sort of like, your character clearly leads this high lifestyle. What was it like sort of putting yourself into that kind of character? Was it quite easy to kind of adopt into, or was it sort of like, wow, I'm going to be in helicopters, casinos,
No, I've done all
penthouses?
that before. I was a degenerate gambler. I lost hundreds of millions of dollars in the casinos over the years and playing cards. So I know what it's like. I mean, I know the feeling. I mean, they know, those guys do. I know the feeling, what it is to lose. Yeah, I think about, I was in the action all my life. So it was nothing new. Helicopters. I've been at Sikorsky's. I've been on, helicopters before. No big deal. It was nothing that was a big deal. I mean, in that respect. The big deal was to be in a major movie, and that turned out to be what I thought it would be because I know the Safdie Brothers, and I know Sebastian. They're great. They're the greatest. I knew this was going to be big. And you got Adam Sandler. I mean, give me a break.
Adam Sandler's character, Howard, has that high gambling lifestyle that you kind of talked about there that, for someone like me that'll maybe put a few bucks on sort of the football or something like that as a bet.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Give me a break. I get my balls to be 33.
So, like, I had I was like, oh my God, I was stressed watching betting. I'm not a basketball fan, but I was stressed watching it. Were you able to give sort of Adam Sandler any sort of your hints and tips of like what it was like to be spending that kind of money, to lose that kind of money, to win it too? Were you able to kind of share some of those experiences?
It was never, listen, the thing is that people that aren't real gamblers don't understand. It's never about the money. The more you have, the more you want to bet. And the bigger the bet, the more you feel the action. The more you got your pulse racing and the more action you're getting. The more, you never make a bet. That bet in the movie was ridiculous. I mean, no bookmaker that I know nobody would ever take that bet. Nobody would ever take a parlay like that, okay? Never going to happen. Never. But, you make big bets with bookmakers. You'll do a two-tier parlay, an over-under. It's a big difference, a big difference. Adam gets it. Adam got it. The guy that you had there, I don't know what his name was, that guy with the gray hair. He wasn't a real bookmaker. He was an announcer. He really didn't get what it is to feel being a bookmaker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew plenty of bookmakers. I mean, he was it's like, what's his name? It was what Reagan said to the guy. This guy was no bookmaker, A bookmaker would say, you can't take the bet. Here's the bet I'll let you have. And these are the odds I give you on it. It was very real, though. It was really real. And, for a layman, it was so real. It was so great. I mean, insane. I mean, when you see the movie, you feel like you're there. It was a real movie. And everything that happened, it was unexpected.
Trax New York is a really entertaining follow as well on Instagram. Wayne Diamond is insane on Instagram, but yeah, Trax. Like, I don't know if you follow Trax. He's the guy who, Trax is the guy. If you're unfamiliar, is the guy who is the person who works at the shop with Howard at the beginning of the film.
Oh yeah, he does like video presentations, doesn't he? About, like the sale of gold. Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets pissed off at Howard, and he's actually kind of horrible in the movie. He's like one of the there's a few supporting characters that are kind of like bad, but they're kind of funny. Like Wayne Diamond somehow is actually really good at, even though he's horrible, he's kind of really funny and he's good at his role. But there's a few of these like goofy guys that the Softies just threw in that are just so funny. But like this Trax guy, like he just like is the guy who just complains about, I put all my time into this and blah blah blah, and this right when the gym shows up and he's like quitting, and Adam Sandler just like, shit, holy shit, I'm gonna come. So it just like, that's kind of the last time you see him. But this guy's insane. Like I follow him. He's always doing these crazy presentations about gold and silver, and like he's one of these actual dealers who, like, I think he was very, very important to the Softies in making this because he helped them out a lot. I think he like probably told them a lot about like different jewelry and like the district, and helped them, like, they allowed them to pick his brain and stuff, and they in turn put him into the movie. But yeah, he's like recently the other day had this like crazy like thing where he was just like challenging like Tekashi 6ix9ine or something. I don't know. It's like, it's insane. So that, like, it's amazing that these weird side characters have become almost more entertaining than the film itself.
Yeah. What was your kind of reaction to that ending? Obviously, if you've made it to this point and have not seen Uncut Gems, go off and watch it. But if not, like, what was your reaction to that ending? Because, like, it's just that moment of, like, he's achieved it. He's won against all the odds. It's got a happy ending. The heart rate's coming down. He's shot right through the head. Like, how did you kind of respond to that moment in this little small room with probably, like, 8 seats? The wine's probably been drunk. The free, like, chips are gone. How did you respond?
Yeah, I was a complete, like, just like, holy shit. Like, I remember that was sort of the feeling. Obviously it was a little bit funnier the second time just because I kind of like knew it was coming, but like that first time it was just like a complete and utter shock. Because yeah, like you said, you have this like amazing sort of like happy ending, and you just, in a way, it's like, it's almost too good to be true. Like, and it was kind of feeling that way, like, oh, this is too good to be true. But you like, that it wouldn't be the end anyway. Like, come on, Howard, he can't control himself. What would he do next? He's going to do something next probably. But yeah, when he gets shot, it's like, oh my god, like, you just don't see it coming. It's like you're already like on a runaway train, and it's sort of like you get hit by another train just coming out of nowhere, and it's like kind of floors you a bit. And just like, then like there's that weird dance music, like, because you have the crazy sort of like intro where it's like the crazy title sequence with all the graphics and stuff that goes like from the gym into Howard's rectum, basically into his colon as he's getting a colonoscopy, and then you flip it on the ends where it's like goes into his like wound, and then you see all the crazy colors of the universe within the gym and stuff, and like which I think is really clever. But then just kind of goes into this sort of like spacey thing with this like club music playing. It's just like so funny, like, because you're just like feel so floored by it all, but it's almost a sense of relief, because it's just like, which is morbid, but at the same time you're just like, I don't know if I could take much more of this guy needs to stop, and this is the only way. It's the only way.
Why do you think the film's taken on in such a, like, it's pretty much only been out in the cinemas a year, and then sort of onto Netflix? How do you think it's achieved like such a popular status in such a quick time? Like, you see it, like, it's go-to gifts. Like, you have like the whole thing about GameStop a few weeks ago. Everyone's like talking like they're involved in sort of Uncut Gems,
yeah,
and it's become shorthand. Yeah, like, what is it about the film that you think has really resonated with people in that time?
Well, again, like, a lot does come back to Adam Sandler. I think, like, it's just like, it's always sort of an incredible sort of thing of like seeing someone like Adam Sandler, who you're not used to being in films like this, like doing something like that. And it was like clever marketing and stuff as they like were gearing up towards it, like he was really involved. And I think that helped a lot. He was really, really involved in the success of this film, like just really, really supporting it and bigging it up and all that, which really helps. Like, because if you got someone who's really high profile like that, because they managed to get Adam Sandler, like after bugging him for years and years, trying to get him to do a film. And they finally get him to do this. And it's just like, he's such a big supporter of it, which is important. But yeah, then you have like, I think it's an amazing cast. It's a cool, like a really cool film. Like there's just like, there's a lot of things about it that are insanely cool. Like just the way it looks, the way it's shot, the way like the music works in the film. Like Daniel Lepatin is like, his score is incredible. And then you've got all the weird little things like the Furbies and um the like weird chains and like the basketball. Like there's all these elements that sort of work together, and there's like an incredible marketing of it and stuff. I mean, I remember it was just like on Instagram, like they were like really good about, like, you had all the filters, like the Uncut Gem filters were out, you had the gifts and all that sort of stuff that you could use in stories and stuff. And I just think that really helps to kind of like get people's awareness of it. And Netflix obviously, seemed to really push it really hard as well, and that kind of helped, especially like over in America and stuff. So
it's interesting when you kind of touch on Netflix. The cinemas are kind of, as you kind of touched at the beginning, Netflix, Apple TV, etc. are potential threats to cinemas, but at the same time it seems to complement similar cinemas similar to your own in London, places like the Film House here in Edinburgh, where last year we were seeing every major studio back away from putting films into the cinemas, whereas we would see things like Rebecca, the Trial of Chicago 7, On the Rocks. Like, they were going, we are going to put films into these cinemas, and they were selling out. And you see it at the Prince Charles, where it's like Netflix movies. It's not people aren't going, oh, I'm not going to go see that at the cinema, I'll see it for free in a few weeks. They're actively going to see it at cinemas like yours. Is it interesting kind of that dynamic has changed from the multiplexes are viewing them as a threat, whereas they seem to have a nice kind of relationship with kind of the independent cinemas, and people and audiences are going, well, if they're going to show there, we will go see them in the cinemas and sell them out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really think it comes down to the type of audiences that we draw at the Prince Charles Cinema. Like, we're not gonna be the place that draws like the typical sort of moviegoer. We're not the place that's gonna have your average Joe, that just will go see like the latest horror film or the latest Avenger movie or something like that. And that means that like the people who come to see us are coming to us because they know about us. I mean, like, it's really strange. Like the Prince Charles Cinema, like, I feel like it's got such a reputation. Like, obviously you're in Scotland, you know about us and stuff, and then there's people around in America and stuff that know about us and stuff, but it's like it still feels so culty. Like there's people in London who don't know about the Prince Charles Cinema. They've been here their entire lives, and it's just like, how do you not know? But it's crazy. Like it's funny to like stumble across people who just like, oh wow, I've been here for years. I just finally found this place. I never went down this street on the side of Leicester Square before. So yeah, so like to have that as a sort of thing where it feels like important. Like the people who go, it feels like it's an important thing to do, and they like, I guess, like, are the people who probably care a little bit more about the idea of cinema, and having that as an audience. Like, these people are going to want to come out to see these films that like are made for cinema. Like I think at the end of the day, like most films are going to just be made for cinema. Like, not everything, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think like for the most part, like you get your like, latest Scorsese film, and of course that's like he wants that to be seen on the screen. And of course, like, there's still, I guess this year is going to be like sort of the unique thing to like kind of see how the award season works, because a lot of times it comes down to awards as well. Like, the Academy Awards, they don't want like films that haven't played in cinemas for at least a certain amount of time in a certain place in California to be considered. So it's kind of interesting this year with like a lot of cinemas being closed, and they're obviously going to open their usual rules up a little bit to kind of accommodate more films, if that will change things. But I still don't think it's going to change like the fact that people still like going to a cinema like the Prince Charles Cinema and want to support the place and want to like help the people out and want to see these films on the big screen, and rather do it at the big screen rather than like see it on Netflix. Like, but then if they enjoy it, they go watch it on Netflix, and it's always kind of there. So it's like, it's fine.
And if you go see like Uncut Gems at the Prince Charles, you're recommending it to a friend in a couple weeks, catch it on Netflix in a few weeks, and you get that kind of ecosystem. And it's not, whereas you could imagine in the 90s, a film like that would be, oh my God, I saw Uncut Gems, you should check it out. How can I see it? You could probably get it on video somewhere, or maybe rent it. You would have so limited ways. It would become like just a word of mouth, whereas now they can be kind of global hits.
Yeah, and I think that's like sort of the thing. Like, we're not afraid to have these partnerships with like these Netflix films, and it's great. Like having like Altitude, who puts out a lot of them in the UK cinemas, like to be very supportive of us and come to us and want to work with us to show a lot of these things. We've shown quite a few lately, and well, like in the last like year leading up to this pandemic and stuff. So it's been a really good relationship, and I think like they see it as a win. Like you said, like it's gonna create like this environment of people seeing a film on the big screen, enjoying it, and then recommending it to someone else. And we're also bigging up the fact that it is a Netflix film, that it will be on Netflix, like in a couple weeks, and you can see it here before and make it feel sort of special. So
could you imagine when things reopen again, like an A24 all-nighter or something like that? I think I wrote that once up on the request board, between like a Star Trek 1 to 6 marathon. Could you see something like that happening and potentially being popular with the crowd there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because A24 is like it's such like a particular brand now, and like if something's coming from A24, it's going to be like a really amazing movie. So it's just really funny because also A24 is like, it doesn't like always release via like A24 here in the UK. So it's like we're going to see it from a bunch of different distributors and stuff. But I think like, you can easily put together like a really like amazing A24 marathon for sure.
Well, I will certainly come back down to London for that. For people that are listening to this and want to check out your your podcast, your Patreon, and support your cinema, where's the kind of best places for them to do that, Jonathan?
Yeah, well, if you want to support the Prince Charles Cinema, just go to princecharlescinema.com. We're on Twitter at the PCC London, Instagram at Prince Charles Cinema, and on Facebook at Prince Charles Cinema. And the podcast, we release weekly. It's every Wednesday for the most part. It's the Pod Charles Cinecast. We're at the PCC Podcast on Twitter, Instagram. And we have a Patreon. If you want to support us, we do bonus episodes there. We're kind of like test running a little bit of stuff with our little network that we've created called Breadcrumbs. So we've got like a whole series of Fast and Furious films there. Breadcrumbs is this thing called, officially called the Breadcrumbs Collective. It's a basically like it's a network, but I like to call it a family. It's sort of a DIY sort of approach to having a network where we're supporting each other into creating the best possible podcasts that we can make. So I've been producing the Pod Charles Cinecast for the last couple of years, and we decided to create like some fun outside of that. Like, so we have a goofy show called Breadcrumbs, which is just a anti-podcast. It's sort of a podcast that makes fun of podcasts. Like, it's like there's fake ads, there's weird news, there's weird like stories, just weird editing, goofy sound effects, fun music. So that's sort of like something I like to do. They're always really short. And then within the Breadcrumbs Collective, like from our Patreon, we're doing the Fast and Furious series, and that birthed a new show called Franchised, which is going to hopefully come out in the next month or so. Franchised is a show where it is what it sounds like. We're going through film franchises. So we're piloting the series off with Fast and Furious that's already existent in our Patreon feed. And we're just going to go through every season. It'll be a new franchise, film by film, each episode, and just get really in depth, have rankings, see which one's the best film of the franchise. And it should be a fun time. So
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Jonathan, and I hope it's kind of a safe opening in the future for you in the cinema, but also keep up the amazing work with the podcast. It's been a real pleasure to go behind the scenes and hear about your thoughts on these two amazing films.
Yeah, thanks so much, Lee, man. Thank you. Thanks so much for being supportive over the years. It's been really nice, like having you support us at the Pod Charles Cinecast, and also just be a big fan of Prince Charles Cinema. And like I said earlier, if you're a supporter of the Prince Charles Cinema, thanks so much for having our back over the last year. It's been crazy, but I feel like you guys are going to be there. People have shown us that there's still life there. So as long as this doesn't keep going on and on and on, we'll have a good chance of reopening and be as strong as ever. So